Now.
So today we're going to be talking about systems of inequalities, and we're going to go ahead and graph those. And so in order to graph those, let's go ahead and learn a little bit about what they are. A system of inequalities is a set of two or more inequalities with the same variables. That's what a system of inequalities is. And so we're going to review real quick how we even graph one inequality. And so up here on the board we have y is less than 2x minus 1. And so in order to graph this, I'm going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. What is the slope of this graph?
2.
The slope is 2. What's the y-intercept?
Negative 1.
-1. So what that means is that I'm going to come over here and I'm going to place a dot on -1. Then I'm going to graph a slope of 2. A slope of 2 means you do what from this point?
Up 2 over 1.
You go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Now since this is an inequality, I have a potential of having a dashed line or a solid line. Is this a dashed line or a solid line? It is dashed because of this. Okay, that means it is dashed because there is no equal to. And so what I'm going to now do is I'm going to now go ahead and draw in a dashed line. Okay. And there's my dashed line. And now remember, I'm going to figure out which way do I shade. Do I shade up here or do I shade down here? Okay. So remember what we do now is we pick a point. In this case, what's a good point to pick?
0.
0, 0. And so I'm going to pick this point right here, and I'm going to plug that in. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y and 0 for x. Now when I do that, I'm left with 0 is less than
Negative
1. Is that true?
No.
No, so I'm not going to shade on the side with 0, 0. I'm going to instead shade on this side.
Why am I not using my color pencil? Because you're not using Oops.
Now what we're going to do here is instead of looking at one inequality, we're going to look at 2. So when you're graphing both of these, a good rule of thumb is to pick a lighter colored pencil to start with and have a darker one for the second one, because what's going to happen is we're going to have an intersection area that's going to be our solution. So let's go ahead and start with the first one here. I'm going to, as I said, pick a lighter color. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this light yellow. And now on this first one, I'm going to graph that first line. Y is greater than negative 2x plus 1. What is my slope of that line? Negative 2. What is my y-intercept? My y-intercept is 1. So I'm going to put a dot at 1. What does the slope of negative 2 mean you do?
Go down 2.
Down 1 over 2.
Down 1 over 2.
Down 2 over 1.
Down 2.
Down
right.
2 over 1. What type of line am I going to do here?
A dash.
Dash. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in a dashed line.
What's the name of my dog?
And I need to now figure out which line, or which side of the line do I shade. So I'm going to plug in the point 0, 0. So when I plug in the point 0, 0, I get 0 is greater than 1. Is that true?
No.
No. So here's 0, 0. Which side am I going to shade?
The opposite
Right.
side.
This side. Now you're going to want to do this light. I mean light enough to see, but not super dark. Okay, because we are in fact going to graph another line on here.
Right inside the line.
I'm working on it.
Okay. Good.
Chad, do we have to graph today?
Most likely. Considering that's all our paper is by hand.
So now let's look at the next one. Now this is one where you're going to want to pick a little darker shade. You're going to shade this one actually a little darker. What is my slope of my next one?
3.
My
0.
slope is what?
0.
My slope is what?
1.
No.
What is my y-intercept?
3.
3. So that means I've got a dot at 3. And I've got a slope of 1. What does the slope of 1 mean that you do?
Up 1 over 1.
Up 1 over 1. what type of line am I gonna do here?
Straight.
Straight. Or
Solid, okay?
Duh, straight line.
The curvy line I drew.
I'm gonna draw a crooked line.
Okay.
Mine's pretty straight.
That's pretty straight.
So now I need to figure out what side of that line do I shade. So a good rule of thumb in this case is to pick the point 0, 0 again. So if I plug in 0 and 0, I get 0 is less than or equal to what number?
3.
3. Is 0 less than 3?
Yes.
Yep, so I'm looking at this blue line. Which side am I going to shade? This
The
side
left- the
or
right
this
side.
Right
side?
side.
Bottom
Right side, yep, because that's where 0, 0 is. Now, when you do this, you're going to notice that there is an area that will be shaded both ways. Do you see that area?
Yeah.
That is our solution. So everything in that area that's shaded both ways is our answer.
Uh-oh.
So a good rule of thumb now is to pick even a darker color if you want. And what you can do is outline this area. Now be careful because one of the sides is dashed. And that's this side right here.
Oh, because we need to dash it.
Okay? So that is still dashed, so you need to leave that dashed. And then I'm going to darken in this area right here.
Just put a pencil that's green.
What? You guys can share colored pencils.
We're not in preschool anymore.
Okay, so we color in
Now-
the answer darker.
Yeah. Now let's revisit what that means. That means that any point in that red area, any point will satisfy both of these inequalities.
So then you color
So in
that
other
area.
words, it's not just one point. You know how when we graph lines, we always got one intersection point? With
Yeah.
inequalities, it's a ton of points.
Yay.
So everything in this red area is an answer to those two inequalities. All right, let's look at another one.
Gotta sharpen my black.
All right, next one, y is less than or equal to 3. So then I need to think about, okay, what type of line is that?
Horizontal. Horizontal.
It's a horizontal line. Remember, y is horizontal, x is vertical. So horizontal line, okay, at y equals 3, this is where we're going to want to do, once again, a
Solid.
solid line and a light color. Okay, so y equals 3. Now, while you're drawing that in, I want you to think about what side of the line are you going to shade?
You're gonna use the bottom one.
The top one.
The bottom.
Yeah, the bottom one.
Bottom.
Because 0 is less than or equal to
Yeah,
0.
we know.
My line's not
Because
straight.
because when you take 0,
Yes,
you put
we
it
know.
right
So,
there.
what's
Right there.
what does that say? It is what than 3?
It's less than.
Less than, so which way? Top or
Bottom.
bottom?
Stay bottom.
Bottom.
Say both hands. You just
Gotta go left.
Okay, let's look at the next one. Once again, we're going to want to pick a little darker color.
Wow.
Now I've got to find my slope and my y-intercept, but I don't have that, so what do I need to do?
Subtract x.
Subtract x and put that in slope-intercept form. So when I do that, I'm left with y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 1. What is my slope going to be here, folks?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. What is my y-intercept?
1.
My y-intercept here is 1. So I'm going to put a dot on 1. Slope of negative 1 means you do what? Down 1 over 1.
Forget it.
What type of line am I going to use here?
Solid.
Oh.
Which one is it?
Solid.
Solid.
So I said,
Okay, solid line. Okay, now I need to figure out what side of the line am I going to shade. So in this case, what's a good rule of thumb to use? 0, 0. So let's plug in 0 and 0. When I do that, I get 0 is greater than or equal to 1. Is that true?
No.
No, and I know
No.
0, 0 is right here. So which side am I gonna shade?
The upper right.
The upper. Now, you notice I have an intersection point. Okay, my intersection point is bounded by both two solid lines. It's bounded here by a solid line and here by a solid line. Let's go and shade them both.
That makes a cool sound.
So there you go. So once again, that means anything in this red area works for both inequalities. So far, so good?
Yeah.
What if you?
Okay.
Hold on.
Let's look at this next one. Oh,
Oh.
I got it,
got it?
I think.
Okay. What?
Dang it.
All right, let's look at this next one.
Oh, I have a question.
So, what?
What if you end up, like, what if they're both y equals 3 and you, when one is shaded on the bottom, one is shaded on the top, what if they don't intersect?
Okay, so let's look on this next one. What am I gonna do on this next one? What do I have to do? Subtract 2x from both sides. So I end up getting y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 2. What is my slope?
-2.
Negative 2. What is my y-intercept?
2.
2. Okay. So I've got a dot at 2, a slope of -2, which means down 2 over 1. Good. Am I going to use a solid or a dashed line here?
Oh.
Solid.
My line might be half straight.
Mine's not.
Mine's not even close.
I wish I had a ruler.
Don't steal that.
Okay, now I need to figure out which side do I shade. So I'm going to plug in the point 0, 0 again. So when I plug that in, I get 0 is greater than or equal to 2. True or false?
False.
So which way am I going to shade?
Top right.
Top right. Good job.
That was even harder than John. I'm a multi-tasker.
Aaron, you're talented.
You impressed me every day.
Right, you know I fell when we were running today?
I know, I did too, like twice.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't even try.
Okay, let's look at our next one. What do I have to do on the next one? Subtract 2x. Good. So I end up getting y is less than negative 2x plus 4. Okay. Slope is negative 2. Y-intercept is 4. So I'm going to come up here to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a dot. Slope of negative 2. Down 2 over 1. Now what do you notice about this line and the other line?
They
overlap.
They have the same slope. That's right. And so what type of line am I going to use here?
Dotted.
Dashed, okay, or dotted?
Mine's dashed, but you can't tell.
Mine aren't supposed to intersect, they just might because my lines might.
Okay, so now I need to figure out what side do I shade. So let's plug in the point 0, 0 again. And I end up getting 0 is less than 4. Is that a true statement? Yeah, so I'm going to shade on what side?
Left.
On the left. Ah. So do you already see where they're going to intersect?
Yeah.
Jimmy.
So now
Right
where
in the
they
middle.
intersect is actually going to be in the middle. So you're going to have a line right here. And then you're going to have a dashed line right here. And the solution is going to be the area in the middle.
Right over the last one.
Okay. All right, we've got one more to look at. y is greater than 3, and y is less than 1. So let's start. Y is greater than 3. What type of line do I have?
Horizontal.
Horizontal line where?
3.
At 3. What type of line?
Dashed.
Dashed. Okay.
Could be.
I love it when Mr. Booth does that. So
Do I shade
unpredictable.
above or below?
We don't know. Wait.
You shade.
You shade 0.
Above.
I shade above because it is greater than.
Yes. I'm not even gonna stand the lines this time.
Brett.
You bad boy.
Okay, next one. Y is less than 1. What type of line? Horizontal dashed on what?
Uno.
1. Which way am I going to shade?
Down.
Up. Down.
Down.
Bottom.
0 is less than 1.
See, this is where my question comes in.
That's a lot of coloring.
It's not too bad if you don't
Here,
stand
if
tight lines.
you don't have to color the whole thing. See, yeah. Oh, check it. On me.
So now,
Mine's good.
remember, our solution is always where it is shaded in the middle. So this one, as a result, does this have any
No
points that could
solution.
vote?
No solution.
It's no
Or
solution.
use green.
Okay, so if there is an area in which there is not anything shaded in common, your answer is no solution. Remember, we can answer it that way, or you could write the words out.
I know which one Brett's doing.
Okay, now, what you need to do for me for Tuesday, remember we have a 3-day weekend,
Oh, yeah.
374.
okay? You have to do
Oh.
page 374, 10 through 20 for the evens. I'll be bringing around graph paper if you choose to use that. Okay, so for Tuesday, page 374, 10 through 20 for the evens.
I have a